Hello everybody, how y'all doing? Today we are going to be, this is lesson 5 I believe, and this is the final unit for Makefile. Um, right now I should be covering everything for Makefile that you need to know for the midterm. Okay, so the first thing to start with for Makefile is very simple code. So I'm just gonna print out hello. Oops. And you see when I'm gonna print out hello, and I go here, I have to recompile. That's VP. And this is called a flag. This flag tells it that I want the file that's going to create the executable file to be called main. I could name this anything. I could name this execute. Like, it doesn't matter. And you see now when I enter right here, it will make let me make this bigger. There you go. It will create my executable exe. Right? So now let's say I don't want to type this manually every single time. That is so annoying. What I do is I make something called a makefile. No extensions. It can either be a makefile like this or with a capital M. Right? Same thing. Now when I go here, let's say whenever I do make compile, this will run this line. Right? So simple. I'll just say compile. Right? And I'm going to tell it what to do. If you want to tell it what to do, you go under it and you have to use tab. This is very syntax sensitive and space sensitive. So I used to do tab, and then I'll tell it do this. Right? Dash O, execute. Well, in my case, actually, I'm gonna make it main. Right? Let me remove my main. Should I just it's execute. Oops. Okay. So you see here, I'm gonna do make compile. You see, it ran this line, and it made my executable. Simple as that. Now let's say, you know how I was trying to delete it, and I went here. Let's say I want this file to delete it. What I can say is me, and I could tell it remove my main. And see when I go here and I do make main, it just removed my main. The other thing that you should know is, let's say I'm gonna use a couple files. So you see here I have it included. I don't have anything here right now, but let's say I want to divide. Let's say I'm gonna print out my divide 2 by 2. Okay, so first we'll have to go here, define it, so it's return an integer and divide, and it's gonna take int and take 2 integers, right? And in my divide, I'm gonna implement it, so it's gonna be int divide. Now I'm gonna give it int a and int b, and what I want it to do is divide it, so return a divided by b. Simple. You see right now, when I go here and I want to compile this, what will I do? I'll do g++ main.cpp, and I also have to compile my divide.cpp and tell it to give me use the flag or don't. It's up to you. I like to use the flag. And you see when I now compile my dash main, it gives me 1. Now let's say I want to make this here. What I could do, just divide .cpp, and you see right here, when I do whoops, I could make compile. It gives me the same thing. I could change this to run. Like, this can be anything you want. You see, I can make run. I'll run it again. Now, the nice thing about Makefile is that you don't have to compile all the files when you only change one file. So let's say I only change something here. I don't have to recompile this. The way this works is, the way your compiler works in C++ is you will have your main, right? I don't know why this is so tiny. Actually, maybe I should zoom in. Okay. There you go. That feels a lot better. There you go. So we have my main.cpp, and I have my main.divide, or my, sorry, divide.cpp. When we compile this, and I'm pretty sure we spoke about this earlier, when we compile this, this will go ahead and, well, we'll go ahead and create an object. And this is called divide data. That's my object. And then same thing for my main. This will go here and it will create my main data. Then what it will do is it will go from here and turn both of these into the executable, which in my case is going to be my main.exe, right? And this is your binary code that you run. Now, if I change one, so right now when I do G++, if I do a flag that is called C, this will only give me my object. But you see here, I'm not using that flag. And so when I use this, it straight out goes to it grabs everything it needs, and it gives me my main.exe, my executable. So let's say now I just want to get the object. What I'll do is I'll just say I'll name this divide.o, object divide, and I'm gonna tell it what do you need to get this object. The way you need is divide.cpp. If you don't have this, you're not gonna get your divide.o. And I could even do main.cpp, but this is misleading because now it's gonna go to my main.cpp and it's gonna create a divide.o, not it's gonna create a main.o, not divide. So that's kind of misleading. But so you need .cpp and it's gonna be like, okay, so what do I do now? Let's say I grab this. What do I do? G++, and I'm gonna use this flag /c or -c, like we said earlier. And what this is supposed to do is only get me the object, the .o. So what I'll do is divide.cpp, and that's about it. And you see now, when I do this, here I'll just say compile, or actually I don't even need to say compile, I could just say make divide data. And you see it will run this, and it will only give me my object. Here, I can open this. And you see it just has some bullshit that we don't understand. But this only gives me the object. You see right now, I'll do the same thing. And I'll tell it, grab me my main data. This is gonna be my main.cpp. And I'm gonna tell it make, do this line to get it. So see now when I do this only creates that, and it says it's up to date. I'll explain more about that. But it says to make main.o. We'll make it. All right. Let's say now let's add. So you see right now I only delete the executable. Let's say I also want to delete my objects. I could do main.o and main.or divide.o. That's one way to do it. You see here if I do make clean, it cleans everything. But the other thing is, let me recompile this or get my objects. Right. The other way to do it is if I wanted to delete everything that's an object, star.o. This will go through the directory. Anything that has .o will remove it. The shortcut. You see here, I'll just do make clean, and it removes both of them. Now we have our objects. How do we put these together? So what I'm gonna say is, you remember here, now we have our objects. All I gotta do is get my executable, which is the compiled version. So what I can name this is compile. You can name it anything you like. Compile. What do I need to compile? I need my divide.o. Right? When we go to the board, I have my divide.o in my main. So I'm main.o. And what should it do when it has these two? G++ and compile them. And now I can use the /flag and tell it to name this main. Or execute. It will be like .exe. But I'm gonna name it execute, right? And so I'm gonna save this and I say make compile. You see, first like I need divide.o and main.o. Do I have these here? Earlier it didn't. So it went to, it's like, okay, main.o, it ran this file, it got the object. Then it said, oh, I need my main. I went here, I ran this, got the object. Now it goes like, okay, now I could run this because I got what I need. Then I will run these and it will link them together. You see, so it got these two. Then it linked them together into my exe. So you want to do ./exec, it runs just fine. Now the other thing is, in Makefile, you can make variables, just like Python, just like C++. And it's very simple. You see right now, I can say compiler equals C++. Now if I want to use compiler, the syntax is $, brackets, and here you put your variable. And you see right now, I could just use this in all these places. And you'll be like, well, why do you want to do this? The reason is because sometimes you have multiple compilers. You see right now, if I do compile, this works just fine. But let's say I want to change this to g.cc, different compiler. I just change it up here and it applies everywhere. You see right now, when I do make compile, this doesn't run because GCC is for D language. This is C++, so I'll have some issues, but you get the point. You see right now, make compile works. Now let's do make clean. Make clean. What happened? No such file or directory. Oh, yeah. So here I have my main, but that doesn't exist. I have an exe because I changed it. So I can just change this to main, or I can technically do this. You see right now when I make clean, it deleted it. It just says there's these these don't exist, but it found my exe and it deleted it. So now when I recompile, I don't need this anymore because I'm not gonna make a file of such. So you see now it creates them, and I can do make clean. All right. Now the third concept for Makefile is pretty simple. When you do a make compile, it creates all these objects, one object, two objects, and my executable. Now, let's say I go to my divide and I change this. Simple change. This change only changes my divide.cpp. It doesn't change my main.cpp. So when I do my make compile, watch exactly what happens. You see here, it created all three. Watch here. Only run this and never ran my main. The way this works is when you do the compile, the first thing it will do is it will go to my main executable. So we'll go here. You see, I'm going to do ls. We'll go to my main executable and we'll see the timestamp. This is 4:22 a.m. Yes, a.m. Okay. And then what it will do is it will go to my objects, which is divide o, and it will go to my main o, which is my divide o and main o. And we'll check the timestamp. These are older, so they clearly hasn't changed, right? So it won't recompile these. But let's say, you see right now, I'm gonna go here and change this back. Pay attention. In my divide, this is 22 a.m. But when I compile it, or sorry, when I save it, which is saved, and I do ls, you notice the time changed. Where is it? So from divide.cpp at 22 to divide.cpp 23. So when the makefile goes here, and it goes to the makefile and it checks, it goes like, this is newer than my executable. So something must have changed. So then it goes to my divide o, and then now it goes to my .cpp. It goes like, my o is older than my .cpp. Something must have changed. So then it recompiles this, and then goes to your main, checks the timestamp, like, oh, nothing changed here. So it just uses the old object without recompiling because there's no need. All right, so that's the way it works. Now for clean, there's something called .phony, and then you can do clean. And you're gonna think, oh, well, what is this for? You see here, whenever you do this and we give it some instructions, it creates some file. But when we do make clean, this doesn't create any files. But makefile is pretty stupid. It doesn't know that. If I have a file in here that's called main, it's gonna check the timestamp and it's gonna tell me, oh, the clean is up to date, so I'm not gonna run what's under. You see, if this is up to date, I'm not gonna run what's under. That's the problem. When you say phony, you basically say, hey, this clean? I say clean, bitch clean. All right? Don't check nothing. And that's what it does. And you can do this even with compile, or but like this is probably not the right thing to do because you do want to check. But the point is that you don't want it to check for these things, and clean is one of them. Other subject that you could do, so you see here, these are objects, so I can just say objects equals divide.o, main.o, and I can just change this whole thing to $sign obj, and see this should work fine. I'm gonna clean and see make compile. This does the job. Okay, now let's say I also don't want to do this, right? So you can just do you just do run, and you can just tell it get my compile. So first, if it's not compiled, compile it, because if I run it, so if I do like make clean and I do make run, there's no compile, so this won't work. But so first I'm gonna tell it get the compile in case it's not there. Once you get it, then just do ./main. I'm gonna tell it just, do the same thing I was gonna do, right? And so what this does is every time you do make run, you know how sometimes you do main and you press it and you're like, oh, well, right now I don't have it, but like, oh wait, I forgot to compile, and you recompile. In this case, whenever you do make run, if it's compiled and up to date, it will run. If it's not, it'll compile first, then run. You see this? Compiled, it ran. If I make it again, it won't compile because it's already up to date. We'll just run, link, and run. You see, that's the other good thing about Makefile. I'm trying to think what other things I should cover here. Oh, another thing I could do is pass it parameters. Let's say I could pass /d or hello. You see here, I could take arguments. This is command line arguments, which we already covered, right? And this is gonna be right. And what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna say if there's more than one argument, then print me that second argument. So I'm gonna say this is second argument because it starts at index 0, and here, and that's about it. I'm gonna say if there's two argument, print me my second argument. You see right now when I go to my Makefile, I have hello, and I do make run. It printed my hello that I told it to print. Now, why would this be useful? Let's say I'm gonna make a flag of my own. I'm gonna create a new flag. I'm gonna name this C flag equals -d, right? Just simple. And I'm gonna make a new thing called debug. So here I'll have it under here. I shall have it under here. I'll do debug, and I'm gonna say get the compile if it's not there, and then once you have it, do /main and add my. I'll use that, so I can do that's fine. But what I'm gonna do is use C flag. So if I want to add more flags or change flags, I can just do it up here. So what this will do is it will add my second argument automatically when I run my make debug. So here, let's handle that. I'm expecting a second argument -d. So what I'm gonna say is if there's two arguments, I'm gonna do std string equals debug. I'm gonna tell it there's a -d, right? This is just a variable called -d. Now I'm gonna compare. I'm gonna say if the argument, the second argument, which is my -d, right here, my C flag -d, if my second argument equals debug, which equals this, then let's say I forgot my semicolon here. Let's say entering debug mode. Right? Let's remove this. And you see now, save this. I'm gonna say make debug. Look, entering debug mode. And we're like, okay, well, why is this helpful? Let's say right now we're doing divide, right? Let's say I want to see how this handles when I divide by 0. So what I'm gonna say is here we're gonna say boolean debugger equals false, and then here I'll say when it's entering debug mode, I'll make my debugger true. So this means I entered. And here I'll say if debugger something, if it's debugger is true, I'm gonna test out this scenario, which is std cout divide 1, we'll divide 2 by 0, and this should give us an error, right? And you see this is called debugger. I'm trying to debug and see how this would handle. So what I'm gonna do here, make run, and this, I save everything. 2 divided by 0. It should technically return me an error. I'm surprised it didn't. Oh wait, I'm supposed to say debug. See, now it gave me the error. There's some error, broski. You gotta fix it. So what I'm gonna do is here, we'll do it in this function. We'll say if b equals 0, return or std out and divide by 0, right? And then I'm gonna exit the function, which is return 0. Okay, and you see now what I'm gonna do, make debug is gonna return me 0. The only reason it's returning me 1 is because of this line. What if I comment this line out and I do this? It will return me can't divide by 0. This is for debugging, and I can just say make run. And you see that never runs anymore. So now I could switch between my program just from the parameters. And that's the nice thing. And that's, to be honest, is everything you need to know about Makefile. I think I've covered everything. And yeah, like you see here, I could do C flag, I could do S flag, let's say, and I make this my dash C. And I could make this right here S flag. You can basically replace all this. You can even make a variable for these, make a variable for this. Here you see, like I can make my C main. Well, C would be, yeah, so I could do C main and main.cpp. You see in my main.cpp, I can just do C main. And you see now, I can just change it like this and do the same thing here. I could do the same thing here. I can make this executable. So I can make exe equals main. And I could name this my executable. Right? And there you go. And then here I have my main. This is executable. What else do I have? Main executable. And you see this works. Make run. Works just fine. The other thing you could do, you can even make this debug. So I can do debug with debug. And I can just change this into what I need. So this doesn't have to be all caps, as you can see here, but it's a good standard to go by. So make clean, make debug, it works, make clean again, make run. And that's basically what Makefile is all about, is just making your life easier. And it's pretty straightforward, I'd say. Do have some practice because it is different from most code types. And see you next time.